What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Progressive Vibe Podcast. I am your host, Dodrick. Today's date is Sunday, November 12th, 2023. This is Season 7, Episode 4, and the title of this episode, Q&A Freestyle. So on today's show, we will answer questions from you, the TPVIBE listeners. A lot of you guys wrote in. I'm only going to do a few because unfortunately my time is limited for this particular episode. But I really appreciate everyone just taking the time out and emailing me questions about the show or their takes on certain things that's happening in the United States and abroad, honestly. So again, I have the best listeners in the world, honestly. I'm not just saying that because you guys listen to my show. I know people who listen to the show, and I don't know people who listen to the show. I appreciate anyone who takes the time out and supports the podcast, listen to it, and actually care about the political climate that we're in currently, that we're living in currently, and us trying to find resolutions, ways, strategize to help us, live a better life or make a better life financially, morally, psychologically for everyone. I really do appreciate the support. And just to bounce off of that, before we get into today's show, just a few quick programming notes. So, as you guys know, the Progressive Vibe podcast is on social media. We're on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. You can follow me there at Dottie_Vibe. That's DODI_VIBE. You can follow me there, and it is a link right there on my page that you can click on that will take you to all of our socials. So it's very helpful if you guys like and share and tell a friend, tell a family member about the show. If you don't have X, formerly known as Twitter, you can type us in any search bar, honestly, and hopefully you will find that link. The link is Linktree /TPVIBE. That's Linktree /TPVIBE. We are on Good Pods also. Good Pods is a awards-winning app, podcast app, It's not new on the scene, but it's particularly fresh, and it is amazing, and it's catching a lot of buzz, it's catching a lot of steam, and honestly, it's only up from here for Good Pods. If you haven't checked out the app, please download it and search us in the Good Pods app, the Progressive Vibe Podcast, and we'll pop up. We've hit the number 1 spot in our category several times. We are number 9 all time in our category, independent news, which I'm just so thrilled about, because the Progressive Vibe is not just us trying to find progressive solutions to the political realm of what we live in, but it is to be fair, and it is to hold any side accountable for any type of thing that might, affect us in a negative way as people. And I always say, politics is life. You can't run from politics. It's gonna find you one way or another, and I'm thrilled to have people who I know personally wasn't involved in politics as heavy as I am, and now they're giving me uh, news and feedback that I can use on the program, and I'm really appreciative of that. So yes, all of those are my socials, and it'll be great if you like, share, and like I said, tell a friend, tell a family member about the Progressive Vibe podcast. And last but not least, thank you guys for your personal donations to the show. You know how I am. However you choose to show support is always greatly appreciated. But thank you so much for uh, personally donating. Your hard-earned money to make the Progressive Vibe podcast flourish, and I really appreciate that. But enough of the lovey-dovey, guys. Let's get into the Q&A freestyle on the other side of the break. Stay tuned, and we will see you on the other side. Hey guys, welcome to the main show of the Progressive Vibe. So let's get into the first TP Vibe listeners um, question. So this first one says, "Hi Dodrick, not a Republican or Democrat. I rarely ever vote because I feel like what's the point when politicians of either party are corrupt as hell?" Good point. Um, so why bother? However, it doesn't take away the fact that I listen to your podcast to gain more insight. Been listening to your podcast for about 5 months now. Keep up the good work. Well, first and foremost, I really appreciate you taking out the time and listening to my podcast and it giving you um, insight. Um, like I said in the intro, I have listeners, and it might be you. I don't know, but I have listeners that give me insight. We all help each other out here. There's no right or wrong answers or questions. Like, we gotta stop trying to um, vilify people because they might be misinformed. They might have a different take on a political stance than I do, than you do. At the end of the day, we all have to live on the same earth. So that means we all have to find ways, solutions to help give everyone a better life. Not just the wealthy, not just the rich, not just the privileged, but everyone that might not be in those type of categories. And when I say everybody, I mean everyone of every background, ethnicity, religion, so forth. You can't crucify other people because they don't live the same type of lifestyle that you and your family might live. And I think the sooner we get out of that, the better. Um, but back to your statement, um, you say you've been listening about 5 months now. That's a long time. Honestly, I still can't even believe that I even have a podcast that's been around now for years. Um, some of the old TP Vibe listeners will know the first maybe dozens of episodes that I ever made, it was a work in progress. And it still is a work in progress until this day. But with the help and encouragement and drive and push that you guys have given me over the years, I feel like I've elevated. Um, and I feel like this podcast is elevated, not just because of me, but because of every single last one of the TP Vibe listeners who listen to this show, who've told a friend, who've told a family member, who've told somebody that they might not even know. Um, this is a togetherness thing that we have here. And so when you say keep up the good work, I want you to know I really do sincerely appreciate that. But at the same time, you guys are putting in the work too. Now, I might come on here and talk and produce the show, but you guys, like I said, give me insight on a lot of things, provide me with information on a lot of things, keep me updated on a lot of things. And you guys are still out here trying to fight the good fight. You're going to work. You're being a good citizen. You know, you're taking care of your kids if you have kids. You're, you know, taking care of your wife if you have a wife, taking care of your husband if you have a husband, etc. Um, just because you're not a politician, that you don't hold a certain amount of power that an elected official might have, we have to start realizing the type of power that we have. We put these politicians, okay, in elected office. They wouldn't be in there if it wasn't for our vote, okay? And I'm going somewhere with this. Um, just like these CEOs who are, I don't even think mistreating is the most appropriate word to use because I think it should be a lot harsher. But I'm going to use the word um, mistreatment, of disembowelment of their workers. Um, they don't know, they do know, but they don't know that the only reason they have these big stock portfolios and as wealthy and as rich and as comfortable that they are, it wouldn't be because of it wouldn't be but it wouldn't be because if they didn't have their average worker. You know, these CEOs, and that's why you're starting to see so many strikes across the US, because people have had it, okay? They're getting used, they're getting played, okay? They're the ones with the boots on the ground trying to make these places of business run as efficiently as they're running. It's because of the workers, okay? If it wasn't because of the workers, then your business wouldn't gross as much money per year as it would be grossing. Okay, it ain't hard. And that's the same thing with the elected officials that we put in office. We need to start holding people accountable and calling them out, even if it is a difficult thing to do. Even if they know your family, even if they come to your church or whatever the case may be. You can't say something to your community and then when you get elected and get in that position of power, don't do what you say. That's called a lie. That's not any type of uh thing that just dropped out of the sky and I had to do it. No, that's because you chose to do it because you wanted to, I don't know, maybe look out for your donor. Maybe the donors that you have uh, gave you a certain amount of money to not vote on pieces of legislation that will uh, materially benefit the average person in your community. We have to change that dynamic. And once we change that dynamic, and I think that it's starting to take place, not as fast as we want, but it's starting to take place across the country. You're starting to see in all these states um, that people have had enough. And so I want to dive into what you said that you're not a Republican or Democrat. I think that's great, actually. I think we need more independence in this country. We need both sides to feel the wrath of their constituency. We need them to feel the wrath of the neglect that they've had over their constituency. And it should end in a result of people not claiming either party and to just go with their gut on what most likely suits them best. And it's not being selfish. If anybody's being selfish, it's the politicians who renege on what they say before getting elected into public office. That's what's a shame. So I applaud you for not being on either side. Now, if you vote for a particular side that has your best interest, that's one thing. But for people to just sit up there and vote for a Democrat because they have a D in their name, for people to vote for a Republican just because they have an R beside their name, it's not getting the country anywhere. Because you're telling me or you're telling everyone that you're not really concerned about the policy. You just are concerned about the party affiliation. And we have to stop doing that as people. Okay. I'm 30 years old. I didn't vote right after I was 18. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. But as I started getting older and figuring out, things are gradually getting worse for not only me, but people who I associate with, people who I don't know, who I'm just hearing stories about being at work. You have to mentally document all of this stuff as you get older. And that's what drew me into using my right, my constitutional right, which is to make my voice heard, which is to vote. Now, one vote doesn't change the ball game. We all know that. But I want you to know something. You are being heard. If you go vote, you're making a statement. Okay? People have literally sacrificed their own lives, their own well being for us to vote in this country. Women, minorities, etc. Don't give in to the status quo of politics, okay? Because that's what they want you to do. They want you to not vote because there's a good shot, a good chance at nothing changing. That's what the status quo is intended for. Okay? We have to disrupt the status quo. And it's not trying to be a badass. It's not trying to um uh make it tough on everyone or whatever like that. If you know that you're being mistreated, if you know that your life materialistically hasn't improved, and you want to start a family, you want to get married, you want to go on more vacations, you want to have more money in your pocket, you want to have savings for any type of financial emergency, you want a car, you want to give your family or friends more Christmas gifts during the holidays. I mean, the list goes on and on. If you want a cleaner environment, a cleaner planet, um, you have to take in account that the status quo that we've been living under, it ain't working. So I encourage you, please, to get back involved into voting, or to just vote if this is your first time. I would love for you to reach out back to me when the voting cycle comes around, which early voting has already started in um, certain states already. And please just do it. My thing is, though, it's not gonna hurt. You know what I mean? It's not gonna hurt if you do. But I think it would be more hurtful if you don't. Excuse me. But I really appreciate you writing me in that. And again, please reach back out to me and let me know how you feel about the take I had on your statement. Looking forward to it. Um, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we will have more questions on the way. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. So let's jump right back into the Q&A. So this next question by the TP Vibe listener is, what's your thoughts on the Gaza Israel war? It's sad what's taking place. Um, I'm with you. I think it's just utterly tragic that this war is taking place. Um, at the end of the day, what really matters is a ceasefire. And why I say what matters is a ceasefire is because you're killing innocent people on either side. What good does that do anyone on either side? Okay, what Hamas is doing in Gaza is horrendous, but you also have to accuse Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, what he's doing to Gaza is just as horrendous. Okay, and I know the United States has this moral bond with Israel. Like they could do no wrong in the United States' eyes. And that's just like totally false because we're seeing it play out. Okay. And the majority of the country, I've already checked, the majority of the country, the United States, wants a ceasefire. They don't want a war. War doesn't get us anywhere. War doesn't get us anywhere. regardless of what country that's in the United States interest. They send funds, they allocate funds to these wars for honestly for defense contractors to make a shit ton of money. And they're just giving money to Israel, just like they were doing Ukraine. And if you check the numbers, we were obviously for giving funds to Ukraine to help defend themselves against Russia because they were allied of the United States. Nobody had a problem with that. But when you tied in domestically what's happening with the United States and how we can't take care of our own people here in the United States of America, and you're able to allocate billions of dollars to other countries, there lies the problem. And yes, you're going to continue to get less and less support on giving money for weapons to a country like Israel, who has one of the most ready militaries, capable weaponized militaries in the entire world. That's just a fact. So back to the point of peace. I'm for peace. I'm for them finding a resolution. Special ops, special forces, go in. It's ways to tame Hamas without having to, I don't know, bomb a damn hospital of like innocent people, bomb schools of innocent kids, and like literally the count. We're past we're past just the single, we're past the thousands of deaths that's been um that's been together in this whole saga of this Gaza and Israel war. You know, we're up in the thousands of senseless deaths of people who are just trying to live their lives. Kids who growing up without their parents now, parents who growing up without their kids. Now you're a United States citizen. We're all the United States citizens. I mean, not everybody who's listening to this show. We have some international love too. But you know what I'm saying? Like the predominantly uh amount of people who listen to this show mainly are United States citizens. How would you feel if a neighboring country um was able to shut off your water or not give you food or turn off turn off your power? You don't have power. You can't reach out to a family member to see if they're okay. You can't feed your kids. You can't give them water, nutrition, and like they're literally starving to death type of thing. Like that's wrong. That's inhumane. That's immoral. And we should want to display how we treat ourselves here in the United States. We should want that abroad. And when I say we, I don't mean the politicians because they're treating us like crap. But like us as human beings, we have a certain humanity to maintain. But we're not expecting that same type of energy for other countries because they're willing to buy weaponry, buy weapons and things like that um, to help defense contractors in the United States profit. and then they lobby, they give money to politicians and bribe them from helping us in the United States. You see how it like it's a domino effect. You see how it like trickles down. So we have to change that trajectory and have to push for peace. We have to push for ceasefire because what's taking place in Gaza, Israel is inhumane um, for the bigger picture. And that's just people who don't want war. They want to find a resolution, keep their lives first and foremost, and find a resolution on both sides to stop this like tragedy. So yeah, good. Thank you for writing in on that. That's been eating up a lot of news coverage as it should. But just seeing some of the pictures and videos of that, I couldn't imagine me or my loved ones, friends being in that type of situation. And so we shouldn't want that for other countries. Just because they don't live in the United States doesn't mean they should be uh, not treated like human beings. Let's get into this next question. Let's see. This one says all politicians suck. uh, Pretty much. They get into power and do nothing for the average person. The only thing they do is take donor money and sells us a bunch of these useless goods to keep us distracted from the real issues. Anyway, I enjoy your show. Have a good one. Thank you so much. And I mean, you just said it there. I mean, it's just crazy that we're like these lab rats that's getting like all these tests ran on us. And the people who are pulling the strings, they're good. Their family's good. But we are the ones who have to suffer from the neglect of our politicians. It just shouldn't be a thing. It just should not be a thing. And as you said, they get into power and they absolutely do nothing for the average guy, the average person. And you see it coming a mile away. The donor money starts to pour in. It's easy to get bribed in the United States of America. I call it legalized bribery because these donors know that all they have to do is just give them, give me a price. Everybody's got a price. Everybody's got a price. And it's so sad to see. It insinuizes people to run for office for all the wrong reasons. That's what it incentivizes. When it should incentivize people who want to get in there to help their community out, find ways to reach across the aisle or find ways to figure out how can we help our neighboring state. Because if we help our neighboring state, that state is going to have an incentive to help that neighboring state. And then it'll be a domino effect. That's what plan needs to happen. But unfortunately, we have too much divisiveness. We have too much culture war, and it distracts us from as you were saying, TP Vibe listener, it distracts us from the bigger picture, the bigger issues that are being, you know, uh taken that's being taken place. Like, and we're always being duped. We really are, and I'm just being real, I feel like the average, and I'm not dissing anyone when I say this because I'm in that group too, but let's be real, average US, average American, our attention span on like issues that are obviously effed up, that's obviously affecting us, we're outraged only momentarily. We have to stay outraged, not to the point to where like it stresses us out to the point of exhaustion, but but angers us to a point to where like, okay, enough is enough. We need to organize. We need to canvas. We need to find remedy to these solutions, like a outside pressure campaign. If you can't have pressure on the inside, it's always good to apply pressure from the outside. So we have to take all these things into account because we can't just give up. The people who listen to this show, you know, you don't give up. We're constantly helping each other, trying to spread the word on what's being um, taken from us. You know, if you're over 18, if you're over 18 and you're working, you paying taxes. Okay, you a taxpayer, and I could be wrong, but I think certain states it's even earlier if you start working. Like, you pretty much pay taxes after birth. You know what I mean? Like, as a baby, you've been paying taxes pretty much. I feel like I've been paying taxes since I've been in school and in preschool. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you give all this into the system, and the system does not reward you back. You reward the system, but the system don't reward you. What kind of crap is that? And so we have to be able to figure out a way to take money out of politics. If not, we have to figure out ways to provide outside pressure campaigns that will disincentivize politicians for making the wrong calculation when it comes to their constituency. Plain and simple. All right. So you guys have been really asking some or making some asking good questions and making good statements. Like, it's as you can see about the as you can see for the from the time, uh all these questions really take, I think, um calculated, well thought out answers because they're important. um and I think also it does the show good because you're holding me honest, you're holding the show honest by asking and making these uh statements. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one more break, and we're going to end this segment. We're going to have one more question from a TP Vibe listener. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. So let's get into this last Q&A for the segment. So this one says, German listener here. I'm a fan of the show and the topics you choose to discuss. It's sad to see the current state of politics in the US. I believe the US leads political trends internationally. What's been shown over the last several years has made me concerned about where the world is on a whole host of issues. That's why my thoughts. That's my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think about this. Thanks. Well, first and foremost, I'm just thrilled that the team that the Progressive Vibe has international listeners. It's like a chart you can click on um, in the podcasters app. It'll show you a breakdown of internationally what percentage of different countries listen to your podcast, and obviously, the United States is number one with like um, I think it's like 88% or something like that. But I have about 7% of Germans who listen to the show, and I think like another 4 or 5% Puerto Rican, which is U.S. territory, but different country listening to the Progressive Vibe really just does my heart justice, and I appreciate you for listening to the Progressive Vibe podcast. Um, Now, to talk about what you just stated there, um, I agree with you. I think it's really sad to see the current state of politics here in the U.S. Um, the U.S. leads the world in a whole number of things, and we are a superpower, and we have a lot of influence on what goes on in other countries, whether that's economic, whether that's voting, um, etc. And so when you see the United States struggle amongst its own citizens and not providing any type of remedies that the majority of people in the United States actually want, it causes chaos, it causes a disturbance, and it causes friction um, amongst our own people, you know. And it's very sad to see because unfortunately that incentivizes other world leaders to possibly take up what the United States is doing. Um, Influence is real, people. And just because you might not, and I don't think we here at this show get influenced by anything that's going to make us do something crazy. I'll just put it like that. But when you have a world power like the United States and people who they elect, and that could be nationally, that can be locally, it has a ripple effect to other countries and other civilians to make these type of calculated decisions on, okay, well, if this is where the United States is going, then this obviously means this is where we need to go. And sometimes that might not be the right way to go. And so, TP Vibe listener from Germany, I'm embarrassed at our country right now. So you're not the only one. Um, I don't know if you I don't know if you live in the United States or you live in Germany. Um, I would like for you to touch bases with me and let me know. But if you are in the United States, um, you know how it's going. you know how it's going. And if you don't live in the United States, you can just turn on the television or you can just read some articles on what's been taking place in the United States over the last, 5, 6, 7 years. Inflation's super high. Companies are disvaluing their workers. The homelessness rate continues to skyrocket. Um, People can't afford anything. People can't get the basic rights that they are entitled to have, like health care. People can't get that. The seniors are getting their Social Security cut. Seniors are having to come out of retirement and go back to work. The false praise, in a sense, that we give our veterans who have fought for this country to give us our freedoms are being neglected in our own country. You will find more homeless veterans in the United States that you probably wouldn't find anywhere else. Just just being real. Just being real. It's so sad, but yet the politicians love to use, we support our veterans. We want them to have X, Y, and Z. They deserve X, Y, and Z. And we don't give them X, Y, or Z. It's amazing. But yet, just being real, a lot of these veterans, they are particularly um, more Republican. I could be wrong. Might need to check the numbers again on that, but I'm fairly confident that the majority of veterans in the United States are more conservative than not, and they tend to vote more Republican than Democratic. Now, I'm not trying to absolve the Democratic Party because they use veterans as props too. So it's always a together thing. It's always a together thing. If you implement policy, if you bring motions to the House or bring motions to the table when you go on these when you go on television, you know, you can persuade the people to be like, okay, well, you know what? They're trying to look out for me. They're trying to, at least. They're not just saying it. They're actually trying to put plans into motion. And right now I feel a lack of plan into motion with the Democratic Party. Now I feel like it's more so lack of motion being put forward from the Republican Party than the Democratic Party, but it's always got to be the lesser of evils. I'm tired of choosing the lesser of evils. I just want it to be good. And no no president's perfect. No senator's perfect. No House representatives perfect. No judges perfect. You know, and it goes down. But you have to want to do right in order for it to be shown to people that you're making a value effort into trying to do right, if that makes sense. You have to start taking a bold stand eventually. You just have to. Otherwise, why are you in political? Why are you in political? Why are you in politics? Why are you in elected power? You have to gain trust from your constituency to be put into a position of power like that. And if you go neglecting them, then that's just going to cause, again, a form of chaos. People are going to be less likely to vote because they're going to feel like, okay, well, I tried to do it this way and they lied, so why do it? Um, you know, and it's just like a trickle down effect. So, brother, sister, I hear you. Um, I feel like right now the United States is a national embarrassment. Um, particularly with their stance on this Gaza Israel war. That kind of took the cake in a way. To just show morally where the United States is. And please prove me wrong. I mean, you know, it could change. I'm hopeful that it will. But I'm not, well, I'm optimistic that it will. Am I hopeful? Give or take. So I'm concerned like you are. Long story short, I'm concerned like you are. And we have a long way to go, but I'm, again, optimistic that we are going to end up on the right side of things when this is all said and done. I just hope that said and done is sooner rather than later. Okay, guys, that's going to wrap up the Q&A freestyle segment. I really enjoyed answering all you guys' questions and reading you guys' statements, and you guys being able to provide me insight on these topics as well. When we come back, we will have the social media break of the show. You don't want to miss that. Stay tuned, and we will be right back. Hey guys, welcome to the social media break of the show. So I want to do something here. I want to do a show plug for the new listeners of the podcast. I am just so thrilled, honestly, that I have new listeners who have started listening to the podcast. And I want to appreciate the OG listeners for always holding it down, supporting, listening to the podcast. I want to also say that the reason that I do these Q&A freestyles where I answer questions, read some of you guys' statements, and elaborate on what was conversed, I think is really important, because I think that you have to have the people who support you, you have to also support them. See, it works both ways. And I think that what we have here, I think what we're trying to accomplish with the podcast is to make sure that everyone has a home here when we're talking about topics to do with politics, because obviously it's a very, very touchy subject. That's why a lot of people don't talk about it amongst people, particularly that they don't know, etc. And so I'm glad that you guys feel like the Progressive Vibe is a place for a Democrat, is a place for a Republican, is a place for a independent voter, because we all have just common goals at the end of the day. We're all human beings at the end of the day. And again, this is why I hold these Q&As, or I'll do a listener appreciation episode from time to time, because I want to make sure that the way you guys support me in doing podcasts, and to be honest, how y'all been holding it down since the new season has started, it's been a slow takeoff, because things come up, life happens, work happens, and sometimes you don't have the time that you wish you had to make more consistent episodes per week. And for the listeners, again, you haven't missed a beat. And every time I, upload a podcast, you guys are listening to it. And you guys reach out to me from time to time and talk to me about it. And that means a lot, because I like doing what I do when it comes to having a podcast that surrounds progressive insight on politics. What can we do to evolve and help everyone abroad, not just in the U.S., but in the whole entire world? You never know how much influence you have on a person, and that person can match your energy, match your vibe, and share that with another person. And it's just like a domino effect. So again, I appreciate everybody who listens to the podcast. It really means a lot. Once again, about my social media, if you want to reach out, or if you want to follow the show, know what the show's doing, we have a link tree that you can click on or type in, and it'll take you to the Facebook fan page, the Good Pods app. We're on there. Takes you to my Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. It takes you to my Spotify, etc. It's just like one big link that takes you to everything. And if you have Twitter or X, you can follow me at Dottie_Vibe. That's DODI_VIBE. And on my page there is the link tree for the podcast. So either you can follow me on Twitter, you can follow the Facebook page. On Facebook, it is the Progressive Vibe Podcast. You type that whole thing in and it should pop up. And once again, my link tree has a direct linkage to all of my socials. So that's the link tree, LINKTREE dot, or I think it's actually /TPVIBE. So again, that's linktree /TPVIBE. When we come back, guys, we will wrap up today's show. All right, see you on the other side. Hey guys, welcome back. That's going to wrap up today's show on the Progressive Vibe Podcast, Season 7, Episode 4, Q&A Freestyle. As I said in the social media break last segment, I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you for the support that you always show for the podcast. Shout out to all the new listeners of the show. Shout out to the OGs. that's been listening to from day one. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys as a whole for your takes and your insight. It truly does make the show flourish. And I hope you guys get insight off each other. And that's why I hold these Q&As and do listener appreciation episodes as well, because it's important to know that we all need each other. This is a togetherness. That's what this show entails, or that's what at least it tries to portray. But it's important to hear each other's concerns, try to answer them, try to come up with some type of resolution to the best of our abilities, and hopefully that will have a trickle down effect for people that we don't even know. Hopefully that's just a domino effect, and that would be just so great if we all can just figure out ways to just get better, to listen, to actually want to come up with ways to help their fellow man, woman out. That's all. But I really do love you guys, and hopefully it won't take a whole another 2 or 3 weeks for another episode, but bear with me. Hopefully we'll have a new episode next week. But yeah, while the Progressive Vibe podcast is on idle, I want everybody to stay positive, stay progressive. It's a vibe. Love you guys. We'll see you in the next one.